Welcome to the Dating Kinky Podcast, a cast about love, sex, romance, and kink. I'm very lucky. I can orgasm. In fact, I think I've been able to orgasm since my very first time. I know for sure with my first boyfriend, and that I've rarely had sex where I did not orgasm. In fact, it used to be a running joke with my gay friends that I could smell good cock. I still feel like I have an excellent picker in that regard. I have consistently chosen sexual partners of multiple genders who are blessed with a skill set of pleasure. I don't quite know how, really. I just sense my way through the initial conversation. And it's always worked. Except in maybe one or two cases, both involving other people, threesomes, which I will claim skewed my finely tuned equipment. But I wasn't always multi-orgasmic. I grew into that. I trained into that. I've definitely made it a goal in life to learn more about my body and others' bodies and how to please and be pleased. And I'm still learning. But so far, what I know has paid off, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. And I've made it a bit of a passion of mine to share that pleasure knowledge. Today's cast is directly cribbed from one of my books. How can some people get off so much more easily than others? I'm going to say nature, nurture, or both. Nature. Let's face it, just like fingerprints, pudendal nerve maps are totally unique. That means a lot of us will have Y number of nerve endings in our goody bits and surrounding areas. Some of us will have Y minus X number, and some of us will have Y plus X number. More nerve endings could potentially mean more pleasure, and so on. On another hand, some people develop physical issues like vaginismus that affect their ability to experience normal sexual pleasure. Nurture. Some people are lucky and have had only positive sexual experiences, which have brought them pleasure, along with the ability to explore that pleasure and grow it. Other people have had only negative experiences, which have traumatized them and stunted their sexual growth. Both nature and nurture. More often, I'd say that a combination of factors work together to create our pleasure profiles. Someone may be born with a predisposition to pleasure, but given nothing but negative experiences. They might have a hard time reaching orgasm, even though the potential is there. Where someone else might be relatively normal when it comes to their potential to experience pleasure and are blessed with amazing partners and a curiosity and ability to try many different sexual options, and so far surpass what is considered normal or even possible simply because they've been able to put in the practice. The ability to orgasm, or to orgasm a lot, is not a value judgment. It just is. And since we can't know what potential we are born with, if we want to experience more, it's up to us to try new things, practice our exercises, and see where we can go and what we can feel. Orgasms, the 8-minute mile of sex. A friend of mine once wrote about how difficult orgasms are for them to achieve, and how they had found kink and all these different replacement activities that they liked instead of, and when they did get off, it was by themselves, and that kind of sucked. But what sucked more was people making a big deal about it as if they needed to be fixed. It was an amazing writing, and it struck a chord with many. It did with me, but in a different way. You see, I have the opposite problem in some ways. I can orgasm easily and effectively in many situations, some a bit embarrassing, and have extensively studied orgasms and how they happen, why they happen, and the many possibilities. And I'm sharing some of that with you here. I know about these things, and I love to discuss them, often in public forums and sites. And I sometimes make people hurt or feel inadequate as a result of sharing what's possible or my personal experiences. And that makes me sad. In fact, I lost a budding friendship over it, and I didn't even realize it until months later. By posting about the many types of orgasms possible and how to train it and mentioning that I have it, I made a new potential friend feel bad about themselves and their own orgasms, so they withdrew from my life. And that really, really sucks. You see, I know a lot about a few things, and sex and orgasms is one of those things I've been fascinated with since I was young. So I read about it, study it, practice it, and generally glut myself on it. And I'm a bit of a zealot, I know. I love people to know about sex and how their bodies work and the possibilities. I hate that anyone feels inadequate if their unique, amazing body does not do everything that another's does. I love when people learn to get pleasure from their bodies and their lives in whatever they do. I hate when I am somehow the catalyst for self-loathing. You see, I see things like multiple orgasms, nipple orgasms, anal orgasms, think-offs, and etc. as physical possibilities for most people. In the way that running an 8-minute mile is a physical possibility for most people. It's not something I can do. I also can't pole dance, do pull-ups, or fit into size 6 jeans. Those things are physically possible for me, but I can't do them now. And I don't feel particularly bad about it, except when I'm PMSing. And I know that I could very likely train my body to do those things, to work in new ways, to function like an athlete, a dancer, or a skinny girl, if, big if, that was a priority for me. And I could also find out that it is physically impossible to run an 8-minute mile because I am unique physically. But I've not trained for weeks or months or years on these things like I have on orgasms. I was not always multi-orgasmic, and understanding my own sexual pleasure. I write about these things for me and for you. They fascinate me, and I love letting people who can orgasm from a nipple or come from a bite or a word know that they are not broken either. You, though, you are amazing just the way you are. If you want to be different or learn more about orgasm, great. I've written a book for that. Next stop, O-Town, a roadmap to your orgasm and sexual release. But don't think that I think less of you because you are wired differently than I am. I don't. If anything, I want you to fulfill whatever potential you want to fulfill. What are your thoughts? Are you satisfied with your orgasmic capability? Have you been frustrated by your ability or lack thereof? Have you ever been shamed for it? Have you ever trained to increase your orgasmic pleasure? What, if anything, has worked for you? Thank you for joining me today. If you love this episode, please share it with others who would enjoy it. And please do join me on our new apps available in the Google Play and Apple App Stores. Dating Kinky is built by Kinksters for Kinksters, poly, queer, trans folk, and anyone not quite vanilla, and it's free. Find me on FetLife as Nookie Notes, and on Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, and Medium as Dating Kinky. We're on Instagram as Dating Kinky Official, all one word. Also, find me on the new Moan app in beta for iPhone. I'm Miss Nookie there. TheMonapp.com. Have a kinky day, and I'll catch you next episode.